Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of GeekVerse podcast. I am your host, Taylor Field, and today we are continuing our trek through the Bad Batch Season 2. This is our third part. We're focusing on episodes 7 to 10, and we'll be getting into our spoilers review for that. But before we get into our non-spoilers and then spoilers, a couple of plugs. You can find us on our website, Cryptic Clues. Oh my god, no, I knew it was bound to happen. Oh no, disregard that. You can find us on our home base, GeekVerse.ca, our social media channels, GeekVerse Podcast and GeekVerse Cast on Twitter and then Facebook. And you can find us on Patreon, where you can get ad-free early episodes available there, including our John Wick retrospective and our X-Men retrospective, the animated series specifically. We're going through all of those, and we entered season 2 recently, and then I believe we just finished our John Wick as well in anticipation for John Wick 4. That's going to be dropping in, I think like a month now. So stay tuned for that review. Also, we have done our You Season 4 Part 1 review. That's available on our main feeds, and we'll be getting into You Season 4 Part 2. That'll be the next follow-up review when they drop all those episodes soon. What else do we got kicking around? Me and Dylan just did a newscast this week. We have another newscast dropping tomorrow on Thursday. Yeah, there's something popping off every step of the way. We did Ant-Man not too long ago. We got Last of Us dropping on Sunday, so we're reviewing those right after the episode's premiere. So definitely stay tuned for that. But yeah, otherwise, let's get into this. So non-spoilers first. Coming off of the previous 4 episodes that we got, I was thinking, okay, like, what's left? What do we have that we can really explore and dive into? Because I feel like we're getting to a part where the trailers have really kind of showcased us the majority of things, and now we're getting into that interesting part where they save these things for outside the trailers. This is going to be in the juicier stuff. And let me tell you, if you haven't seen at least 2 of these episodes, episode 7 and 8, go watch them and then come back. Because episode 7 and 8, specifically episode 8, was one of my favorite episodes of all time. Oh my gosh, it was so good. And I'll explain why, because there's definitely a lot of biasness that you can trickle into this, but it was just such a great episode. The next 2 following definitely felt like, okay, we got some classic filler here, but there's some great character development and some like follow-up tribulations after episode 8, which I think is totally warranted. And it's just nice to get kind of 2 arcs. Episode 7 and 8 is one arc. Episode 9 and 10 is another arc in itself. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 episodes left. So it's going to be interesting to see where the story kind of goes. Like, at what point are these like singular episode stories or these 2 episode arcs going to end? And we're going to get, okay, this is all building up to the finale here. I will say, like, it is nice that these episodes focus really heavily on certain stories that they want to tell, because I feel like these stories that they're choosing to tell have very important consequences on the whole of Star Wars and very important development moments for our characters that these episodes choose to focus and hone in on, which I think is very important. And again, the animation style is just absolutely fantastic. I love it. So I think that's about all I can really say on non-spoilers. Again, go watch at least episodes 7 and 8 and then come back, because that's what we're going to be talking about now in 3, 2, 1. So, episode 7, The Clone Conspiracy. In the Imperial Senate, Rampart pushes for the passing of a bill authorizing the military recruitment of Imperial citizens, meaning that the clones will be officially discarded. Senator Ryle Chuchi, who defends the clones' fundamental rights, is approached by clone trooper Slit, whose friend Cade was murdered on Rampart's orders when he defied the official version of Kamino's destruction by a storm disaster. Chuchi begins to investigate Rampart's conspiracy, alerting the Admiral, who sends an assassin after Slip. Just as Chuchi tries to convince Slip to testify, the assassin kills him. Before Chuchi can suffer the same fate, she is rescued by Rex, whom Slip summoned for help. Rex and Chuchi prepare to question the assassin, a clone, but he kills himself before Rex can acquire information from him. So this was a major setup episode, and I'm super thankful that we got this, because ever since I played Star Wars Battlefront 2, and I know the game is not canon, but it talks about how the clones got shiny new armor, this and that. And there's other stories, like a lot of the clones got blown up in the Death Star Battle of Yavin. So there's all these different events in Legends, at least, that have contributed to the clone's demise. And I should say I was a firm believer and stood on the stance that if the Emperor kept clones, they would have made him it would have been the perfect army. How could he have been taken down? The rebellion against the clone army? No, not a chance. The rebellion wouldn't have survived. That's been my stance. And I always just couldn't figure out why would Palpatine just swap out the clones for these like blech, like imperial citizens that can't shoot for shit. Well, this episode answers it. It's again cheaper. The clones are leaving left, right, and center, so that already is a significant reason enough. I didn't think that clones had that. I thought, okay, the clones that we see, Rex and obviously Echo, but that's a different story. But Rex, Gregor, and Wolf, they removed their inhibitor chips. So naturally, I assume, okay, well, if a clone did that, they could bounce. But most clones aren't going to do that. They don't even know they have the inhibitor chips in there. So to see clones defecting of their natural choice, they're like exercising their right of freedom in this sense, because the Empire is becoming something that they know is wrong, and they don't stand by that. Just like Commander Cody did a few episodes ago. Boy, do I love that. And it makes the perfect justification. You're going to have people that willingly want to serve the Empire and people that willingly enjoy doing what they do, and you can pay them. And they're much like regular people are so much more controllable than soldiers that were programmed. But you have to remember, the soldiers were programmed to follow orders, and they were programmed to execute the Jedi. Now, their primary function was to fight for the Republic. And when you remove the Republic and instill a new standing government, then you have a military that, when it's programmed to serve the Republic, it's going to have conflicts in its programming, and it's not going to fully be able to compute with the fact that, okay, hey, yeah, the Empire, they're grown men. They can still think independently for themselves, but that programming conflicts with it a little bit. So their notion to just follow orders becomes conflicted with doing what is right. We're trying to maintain life. Like these clones used to be heroes, Kashyyyk and all that, and now a lot of them are just not. Like they're bad, and the other ones that have that, I don't want to say a slight deficiency from their programming, but I guess that's really what it is. They have that ability to think, no, this is wrong. And it's something we saw in that last episode. Those clones were working with the Trandoshans, and they were doing horrible things, but some of their programming was just a little bit more stronger than others. But this episode, though, back on track, we have exactly what we laid out here. Senator Chuchi is trying to figure out, okay, what is going on? And Slip loses a friend and then confides in Senator Chuchi and tells her everything that's going on. And we see Rampart really stressing. Rampart knows, okay, like this leak is going to happen. I need to contain it because there is footage of me like commanding the Venator cruisers to just destroy Kamino. So that's not good. He needs to silence that. So Senator Chuchi's life is in danger. We get a lot of Bail Organa in this episode, which is pretty cool. He's just trying to like help out Chuchi, which is nice, and he's doing it from the shadows. We get a great look at the Imperial Senate. Again, there's no Palpatine or anyone in the center chamber. It's different these days. It's all just the senators arguing and bickering, and so many of them are so stupid, though. They're just so controllable and corrupt. And now I'm reading through the book Darth Plagueis, and that book really reflects how corrupt these politicians are. And they don't give a shit about most of the planets or anything like that. They're just there for, their paycheck and just to talk and bicker. And it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Reflects greatly here. Like these senators, they just really are pushing for their own demise. And it's quite humorous and poetic, maybe you could say, even how they're executing that. I digress. So Slip gets an assassin sent after him. And now with Slip being gone, Chuchi and Rampart, everyone's trying to find him. Slip has contacted Rex because Rex apparently is the go-to source for getting the clones out, which I love that. So he goes to Coruscant. He's trying to find Slip. Slip gets shot by this assassin who they capture with. They save Senator Chuchi, Rex, but they capture this assassin, pull the helmet off, and it's a clone. And it didn't have its markings on him or anything like that. So now we're in a position where, like, okay, who like, what's going on with these assassin clones? Like, he really committed to the cause. He was talking kind of like, oh my gosh, pardon me, I always forget his name. I'm just calling him Quickscope. Quickscope. He basically was talking like him in terms of the cause and everything like that, and he ended up biting down on like one of those fake teeth and like electrocuting and frying himself and then dying. So that's all that we know from him. I'm assuming Rampart knows more, but we'll talk about that in the next episode here, where Rampart now realizes, okay, like hopefully things are kind of taken care of, but his assassin has been killed, and we have Senator Chuchi and Rex reaching out to the Bad Batch. So now we have the Bad Batch coming in. Enter Bad Batch. And they decide, okay, we have to help with Rampart's like takedown here, because you have to find the evidence against him and prove it in the Senate here. And because they're going to pass this bill about authorizing the military recruitment of Imperial citizens, Senator Chuchi wants to take care of the clones. So they go and try to take command of Rampart's ship, not the hangar, the main what do you call it? There's a main communications bay, or like the main, like the head of the ship or something like that. I wish I could remember. The command center, we'll call it for now. They need to get here because there is a command log from this Venator class cruiser that they need to look at, and the ship is basically undergoing maintenance right now. So sneaking in was relatively easy. You have Omega tagging along with Senator Chuchi, who's trying to get more support from senators in the Senate. And again, that bill is coming up in less than a day. It's worth noting that Senator Chuchi goes and actually speaks to that former Kaminoan senator, and like, this is where we kind of learn like her planet's done and her people are pretty much all but extinct for the most part, which is interesting because now that kind of slips us into the Mandalorian, where it's just all Imperial humans working with as the Kaminoan scientists now. There's probably maybe one or two, but for the most part, the Kaminoans are pretty much toast, which is again sad. So anyways, the Bad Batch successfully gets the information out of the Venator, and they bring the information back just in time to Omega. Omega gets it just in time to Senator Chuchi. And we're going to take a quick ad break here and be right back. And we're back. So, Senator Chuchi receives the information from Omega in the nick of time. When she gets this information, this is right when like Rampart and all of them were like, what evidence do you have? Like, we need to get the military recruitment of Imperial citizens going and all that, yada, yada, yada. In the Senate building, like, you're rooting for the Bad Batch, you're rooting for Senator Tucci. She pops in the holodisc, and it just, in the big Senate, excuse me, oh my goodness, pardon me, Senate auditorium, you see Kamino just being obliterated. Oh my god, just annihilated off of the galactic scale map. And everyone starts like freaking out or whatnot. And then what happens? The hologram freezes playing. And then down below in that center spire, who else but our one and only Darth Sidious, Chief Palpatine. He starts rising up, and god damn, the music kicks in, and this is Ian McDermott that's reprises his role again here as Palpatine. The music kicks in, the hologram dissipates, and he just rises up, and obviously he's got his like blue hangman hanging out next to him, but rises up, and he's like, the guy's like, order, order, and all that, and then Palpatine's just going off like, my respect to Senator Chuchi for discovering the truth, and the blue guy's like, yeah, this is it's clear that Senator Chuchi has found compelling evidence that Rampart did some bad things here, and Palpatine takes advantage of the situation. Rampart, this rogue element. Thank you as well, Senator Chuchi, for finding this rogue element, and we can now eliminate him. This is another reason why we can't rely on clones to protect us anymore, because they are just following the orders of anyone and yada, yada, yada. We need to have a strong military composed of our own people to, keep us safe and yada yada yada. Like he just turns like this situation that was supposed to I guess it was supposed to bring down Rampart, but in the long run, like I can see like yeah, this doesn't really do justice for the clones. It makes the clones out to be martyrs, and that's exactly what Palpatine takes advantage of. God, he's so brutal and so tactical. And this is something where I'm reading Darth Plagueis and just the way he operates and the way he thinks and the way he pulls this off. Oh my God. He's a damn good Sith Lord. Holy shit. And I rewatched that scene so many times because him just rising up and speaking like this on a political scale as the Sith Lord mode is so brutal. It's so wild and I love it. There's something about Star Wars politics that I absolutely love. And while there's definitely an interesting play in Republic politics, Imperial politics in this sense, where it's garnered the attention of Emperor Palpatine and he comes in to speak to it. Oh man, that is like creme de la creme right there. Holy smokes, I love it. So this episode is absolutely fantastic. I love how he turns it around. It's great. He gets the rally of the Senate. Everyone's stoked for him except Chuchi and Bail Organa. Yeah, so it's just an incredible episode. Rampart is detained and he's thrown completely under the Star Destroyer, not literally, figuratively. So there's that. And then yeah, there's nothing to stop the defense recruitment bill from going into law now to hire and recruit Imperial citizens into the Imperial military. However, as the episode concludes, before the Bad Batch leaves Coruscant, Echo decides to stay behind, of course, and help Rex and Chuchi fight for the better future of clones. So we now have Echo leaving the team, and this is quite sad because I feel like the team is already short one member. So now to lose Echo, now we're really, really short because now we're looking at 3 Bad Batch OGs and then just Omega. But Omega is definitely a force to be reckoned with in her own right, but this is still sad. So Echo stays behind with Rex, and our crew leaves. And then this follows up into the next episode, The Crossing, where Sid basically sends the Bad Batch to extract some Ipsium mineral from a mine that she recently purchased. And again, their ship gets stolen during the episode. So they're forced to go through the mine and escape from the storm, and they get sealed in, and they're just having a hard time getting out. But they find more Ipsium, and they harvest it, and now they're trying to get their way out of here. But on their way out, this is where it really hits Omega. Because, Echo is gone. None of the other clones seem to be bothered by it, especially Tech, because Tech and her have a very heart-to-heart moment in this episode. He's being very logical. And they're thinking we probably won't get our ship back. Our ship is just a ship. We don't necessarily need it. But she's formed these attachments to Echo and to the ship, the Marauder. It's her home. So it's very important to her. And Tech understands that, but he's giving the very Tech-like response. And I love the heart-to-heart and the development that we get here, especially with Tech, because this is the first time that I've been able to see him really... I think we've all been able to see him really have an emotional side to him and how he describes it. It's very, very rewarding. I process things differently, and we're soldiers. We have to just keep going on, find another way, keep doing it, keep going at it. And I like that. And then he gives a little bit of hope to Omega, and they have a really, really good moment together. Hunter is definitely just kind of like the back seat for this episode. He takes a little bit more of a role in the next one, but yeah, a little more in the back seat here. Same with Rekka, Hunter, Tech. But yeah, overall, this was a fun episode. It's nothing super, super crazy. They managed to get out of the mine. They get to the spaceport, but it's abandoned. And then Sid, who they contact, is like, yeah, I'll pick you up in a few days. I'm not going to pick you up right away. It's just, they don't even have food for a few days. Sid is just the worst boss. And you think this team delivers more often than not. So you would keep them pretty satisfied, but here we are. Our next episode, now they managed to track the Marauder down, and it wasn't going off planet, it was staying on planet. And the Marauder was tracked through Gonki, the droid, inside, and we learned the thief was named Benny Barrow, and he was working for his owner, Mako. His owner, Mako, what a slob. So he's operating this old separatist mine, and the mine is just making bank. Mako's been lying to everyone that's working there. Yeah, we're not making enough money right now, so we'll have to make sacrifices. Everyone's starving, too. It's absolutely horrendous. And now when Benny brings the Marauder and they prepare to strip the ship for parts to sell, they manage to, eventually find Benny by tracking Gonki, and then they manage to convince Benny to lead them into finding their ship, gets their ship, and they're like, oh my god, the ship is like torn apart. So they start rebuilding it, get the hyperdrive back in there and all that, weapon systems. And Benny, hoping to gain, Mako's favor here, like he decides to, okay, I'm going to screw over the Bad Batch. I'm going to let them know that they're here. And this is when Omega really convinces him by sharing her food with him, even though he's a thief and all that. And then she discovers, as she's trying to find like deactivation codes for ray shields so they can fly the ship out, she discovers that, holy smokes, Mako's been lying. He's making absolute bank here. And you see it in a scene too. Before he goes to have a meeting with his thieves and workers, he's just feasting down on all this food, left, right, center. Man, the guy's he's got to stop to breathe, but he's not. He's not even breathing. He's just sucking down all this food and chewing it. It's insane. So he does meet with the thieves afterwards. He gives them like one little bowl of soup, and they all have to share it. And it's just absolutely horrendous. Horrendous. This is what Benny wants, though. He wants to be that top earner, is the rank. However, when he sees the results that, oh my god, the Mako is making bank, and there's enough for everyone to like thrive with financially, he calls out Mako, and this is when Mako is basically going to throw over Omega into the mining pit lava below and make the Bad Batch team surrender and work on the mines. But Benny shows the results to the other workers. The other workers like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. And so they turn on him. Mako's couple droid guards don't survive. This is when Mako does fall off the side. Like, he's a horrible fighter. He swings himself off the bloody bridge. And then Mako goes to bring him up, but obviously it doesn't work. And Mako falls. Benny tries to bring him up. Mako falls to his death because he's a buffoon. And there we go. That's pretty much it. They leave it open because Benny's like, oh, you ever need a thief? I owe you one. And I feel like, okay, maybe we might see Benny come back in like the final episode or something like that, because Benny did deliver. He was a pretty damn good thief. I will say that much. So the Bad Batch restore their ship and they fly away, leave the planet. And I'm imagining they still have their Ipsium mineral that they got from the previous episode in that mine. So there's that. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens now, because this is the end of an arc, and then the next episode drops on March 1st. And again, this one came quick because we had the Clone Conspiracy and Truth and Consequences back to back. I don't know exactly why they did that, but it just had to have been for a very juicy reason, it being Senator Palpatine, Emperor Palpatine doing his little doings. So there you have it. That is our 4-episode review of the Bad Batch Season 2, episodes 7 to 10. I will be back. Let's see here. March 1st, March 8th, March 15th, and March 22nd. I'll be back when we get to the tipping point. And it'll be our part 4 of the Bad Batch review. And then I'll leave just the summit and the plan. Both drop on March 29th. So you'll have another episode of me reviewing those 2 episodes pretty quickly. And I imagine that'll be another 2-parter. And I can't wait to see what is in store for our team then. So until then, you can find us again with your internet connection in the search bar. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerseCast is our Twitter. GeekVerse is our Facebook. And we'll see you in the search bar. Have a good one.